If you struggle with contentment, with happiness and joy in your day-to-day life, if sometimes being a homemaker feels like it's a thankless task, today I want to share with you 7 things that you should be doing that I believe will increase your happiness, that will increase your joy and contentment in your everyday life, and 2 things that I think you should absolutely stop doing. Number 1 is to get dressed, get up and get dressed every day. People are kind of polarized on this. If you're somebody who just does this, then you're like, yeah, of course, duh, what are you talking about? The truth is, being a homemaker is a job. In a world that often diminishes the value of homemakers and there's sort of a lack of respect there for women and mothers who are staying home raising children. It is seen as somehow like an easy life. It's not seen by a lot of people as a job, basically. It's not seen as work to many people. And the reality is, it absolutely is. And if you are taking that seriously, then I think showing up, putting your best foot forward every day, getting up, getting dressed, not only is it going to make you feel more productive, studies show it will make you be more productive to be up and dressed and ready for the day. Now listen, we're not talking about like full glam. I just mean like brush your teeth, change out of your pajamas, even if you're putting on your mom uniform that's athleisure wear. Put on some makeup if you're a makeup wearer. But it means that you're prepared for whatever's going to happen today, right? Maybe somebody shows up to your door unexpectedly. Maybe you have to run an unexpected errand. You are not starting behind already, right? You are kind of ready to tackle the day. Getting up every day, getting dressed is going to make you feel good, and it's going to get you started on the right foot. Number 2, and you could absolutely put this before number 1, it just depends on how you want to structure your own day. But number 2 is to make your bed. There is a really fantastic book, and the book is based on a commencement speech, I believe, that was given by a former Navy SEAL. His name is William H. McRaven, and it's called Make Your Bed. It was a commencement speech he gave with kind of giving his like rules for life and things that he learned in the military and how that has applied to the rest of his life and how he's handled things. The idea behind Make Your Bed is that you are starting the day with a task complete. Not only is it setting a positive tone for the day, but it's also giving you a sense of accomplishment before you've hardly even cracked your eyes open. You've already achieved something or accomplished something. And let me just tell you, that brings me to today's video sponsor, which is Boll and Branch. Part of making your bed, it does not feel like a chore ever when you absolutely love your space, your bedroom, and your bedding. We recently got some new bedding from Boll and Branch. It's unbelievable. Truly, making my bed does not feel like a chore. I look forward to seeing the end result. I just sometimes just walk by the room and glance at the made bed like, oh, look at you, you beautiful, saucy little minx you. I love it so much. This bedding is extremely high quality. The highest quality bedding I've ever owned. And they really achieve that by using the highest quality threads in their bedding. And I love that all of their products are completely free from toxins at every step of the process. And they are 100% traceable from family farm to a finished product. But I have to tell you that probably one of my favorite things about this new bedding that we got is that every time you wash it, it gets softer. The sheets are woven with 100% organic cotton, so they're exceptionally soft just right out of the gate, but they get softer with every single wash. The sheets are not gonna pill or shrink, so your fitted sheet is gonna stay in place and they're gonna feel incredible for years to come. It's one of those items that is absolutely worth an investment. I am almost 40 years old, and having a quality, comfortable bedding set is something that I am willing to splurge on. You don't realize how much of your life you actually spend, like the percentage of your life that you're spending in your bed and sleeping, and having my bedroom, my bed be a sanctuary and a place that I just look forward to crawling into at night is something that matters to me. So I am absolutely willing to make an investment on high quality bedding, and truly this is the best quality bedding we have ever owned. We chose the percale sheets in white because they are just so cool and crisp. And the quilt is, again, it's light and airy and cool. And I got that in the shade Natural. And then we also added the amazing waffle knit blanket for the bed, again, in the shade Natural. It will be perfect, especially when it does start to cool down and we want a little added warmth. And of course, I would not share this amazing bedding with you without sharing a discount. If you check down below in the description box, I have a link down there to grab that discount. Try out Boll and Branch. I know that you are going to love them. I feel very, very confident that you are going to love them just as much as I do. We're getting up, we're getting dressed, we're making our bed, and really this is like a teeny bit of tough love, but I feel like it's one of the most important things that I have learned in my own life, and that is to develop a habit of discipline. Motivation will not take you very far. Motivation will not last. It will go away. Kind of think of it like when you initially fall in love with someone. You have that honeymoon phase where hormones are going crazy, and it's meant to be that way. You are meant to release all of this oxytocin and bond really tightly with this person and fall in love with them. It is a chemical thing that's happening. But it's impossible to stay in that heightened state of euphoria and that heightened chemical release all of the time, right? So when you think about a marriage, a long-term relationship, it's about the discipline of the commitment that you've made to that person, right? Because those heightened hormones, those feelings of just euphoria and love are going to wax and wane. And what's going to keep you there is the discipline of the commitment that you've made, the bond that you've built with this person. So maybe this isn't like a perfect analogy, but my point is that so much of what we do in a day is about discipline, not motivation. Most of the things that we have to do, we're not really motivated to do. And I think it's a little unrealistic to expect that we would be in a state of heightened motivation all the time. And I see all of these like short form things, these reels, these TikToks, these things like that are like, motivation. But motivation, it just doesn't last. And it's not going to get you through to the finish line. It's not going to get you to complete things. And quite frankly, if we're just sitting around waiting for motivation to strike, we're going to inadvertently become kind of lazy. It's about developing discipline, self-discipline. And one of the ways that I like to think about this is that if you are somebody who struggles with this, if you're kind of like a YOLO person, right? And you're always telling yourself like, it's all right, you can do that later. You don't need to worry about that. Like, you deserve this. You've earned a break. Like, I get it, but I like to think about having the discipline to do something that maybe I don't feel like doing as a gift to myself. Tomorrow, Angie is going to thank today, Angie, for doing that thing. Evening, Angie is going to thank morning, Angie, for taking care of that task. And I remind myself that I'm really only hurting myself by pushing things off, by not being disciplined enough to get up and take care of the things I need to take care of, my responsibilities, and not doing them in a timely fashion. I'm really only hurting myself because, well, one of the crazy things about adulting is that nobody's, for the most part, for most of us, nobody is taking care of us anymore. There isn't a white knight. No one's coming to rescue us. No parent is coming to swoop in and fix all the things. Like, we are that person. We're the white knight. We're the parent. We got to do the swooping. You got to swoop in and save yourself. Discipline to do the tasks that you need to do for the day. Be disciplined enough to do those even when you don't feel like it. That brings me to number 4, which is very important. And that is to keep your eyes on what you value, what matters to you. So we just talked about being disciplined and doing the things that you need to do. But remember, are those things that you actually need to do, that are actually your responsibility, things that you have to take care of? Or are those things that you're putting on your plate, the shouldas? I should do this because other people do it. Or if I was a good mom, I would XYZ because that's what I see other good moms doing. That's going to get you in a tailspin. That is going to keep you constantly chasing your tail. And you will not have joy, satisfaction, none of those things if you are constantly trying to chase things that aren't for you. So how do you know what's for you? Well, what's for you is what's based on your values, what you value, what matters to you, what you prioritize. And that means you have to be honest and realistic with yourself about what is that, and not what other people are telling me that should be, what social media is saying that should be, what some article online or some crazy lady on YouTube is telling me that should be. Only you can know that for yourself and for your family. And as much as I think we get a little fluffy with our like, you're so unique and special, like sort of, but not really. But also your family is unique, and how you operate, what works for you, what doesn't work for you is going to be unique to you. There isn't ever going to be just a cookie cutter model that just right out of the gate works for everybody. Knowing what to do with your time, if you want to be disciplined and all of that, but if you're being disciplined about the wrong things, then it's just a waste. So knowing what you value, what matters to you, and focusing on that and that alone is absolutely key. Number 5, embrace your weirdness. Okay, whatever that is, whatever that weirdness looks like. I'm thinking specifically about like home decor. I do, and I fall into this trap. Okay, so I promise I am not preaching at you. I'm like, let's talk about this because I feel the same way. Everything has to like look the same. We know what is popular right now and what we see, like everybody has this gray sofa or everybody has this poster bed or whatever it is. And I think sometimes we're afraid to do things that go against like what the experts, the home decor experts, I mean, I see all the videos that are like, stop doing this in your house immediately. Like, this is out of style. And I love watching those things because it's fun. But remember, it's just opinions. And well, as my mama always said, opinions are like beeholes. We all got them and they all stink, okay? Everyone's got their opinions. It's your home. It's your life. You and your family are the ones that are going to live in it. So if having a completely simplified, no clutter home whatsoever, like I've got a sofa and a chair and a pot, if that is your jam, then do it. If it's not your jam, there's something in between for everybody, okay? You can simplify, declutter without having 3 things in your house. There isn't a one size fits all for anybody. And I think embracing your weirdness, embracing your uniqueness, I like to call it weirdness because I think we take that word back. It's not a bad thing to be weird. Embracing that is something that you'd be surprised when you can get over, like, oof, when people come over, they're like, why does she have that yellow sofa? Nice yellow sofa. But you love that yellow sofa and it just brings you joy. Every time you walk into the room, you see that yellow sofa. This is what I mean by saying, like, and it's why I get so like about some of the like homemaker trend stuff, like the trad wife stuff, really very specifically, is that this idea that the only way to be a good homemaker is to look a certain way, dress a certain way, have your house decorated a certain way, be a certain kind of person. I saw something yesterday on Instagram that just made me like cringe a little bit because I love this person's content, but basically was like, you know, this is how you be a good wife, good woman. And one of the things listed, and I'm not going to get into specifics, but one of the things listed was something that I am not, just am not. I had a moment of like, oh man, I thought that's nuts. No, Angie, you love your husband, you love your kids. Like, you are not a bad wife, a bad homemaker because that particular trait isn't something that you possess as a natural way of being. So my point is that we are all different, and what a boring world it would be if we were all the same. It would look like the psychotic Stepford Wives, okay? If we all dressed the same, looked the same, acted the same, like, here's your oatmeal husband, me. It's just awful. And I think, for one, if we are wanting young women to look at having children, being homemakers, taking care of their home as something that they might desire, then we have to make sure that they know that you don't have to fit into a box for that to be a good choice for you in your life, right? Like, you can choose to be a homemaker and a wife without fitting into this box or that box. There's more than one way to be a good homemaker and a good wife and a good mom, okay? Embrace your weirdness. Number 6, and that is something that we talk about here a lot, and that is budgeting and frugality. Again, I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned over the last year or 2 years is that frugality doesn't mean that you never spend any money and you never get to have anything that you enjoy. It's Depression era life all the time, just in case the apocalypse happens. At least for me, that is not what frugality is about. Frugality is about being smart with my money, being a good steward of the money that I have, as well as not wasting money on things I don't care about and things that don't matter to me just because it's easy to just, well, whatever, I'll spend on that. It's about being smart with my money, frugal with my money in 95% of the areas, so that I can spend a little bit more extravagantly in the 5% of areas that like really matter to me, and I really want to be able to like, yay, spend on this one thing. But to me, that is what frugality and budgeting is about being responsible, knowing where my money's going, not overspending on things unnecessarily, budgeting and figuring out what that's going to look like for your family, getting on the same page about that, making sure that you have all the same goals in mind, sort of same ideas about it, is always obviously very, very helpful. Money comes and money goes, and maybe you're in a season where you do have a lot of money, but that season might end. You never know. Being smart and wise with our money is never a bad choice. Whether you have a lot of it or a little of it, it's important to be wise with what you have. Number 7, it kind of goes back to what I said a little bit about like embrace your weirdness, but this is about leaning into whatever your niche area of homemaking motherhood is, okay? Again, we cannot all be experts in all things. So if you were a professor and you were teaching some high-level chemistry class, but then you were also teaching like, I don't know, English literature, and you might feel like, well, how can this person possibly be like an expert in all of these things? That's not super common, right? So it's the same thing in being a homemaker. Maybe your area of expertise, your area of great knowledge or skill is in sewing and mending, or maybe it's in cooking and baking, or maybe it's in gardening, or maybe it's in like organizing, cleaning, keeping things like militant and tidy. I don't know, okay? It could be different, but don't be afraid to lean into what you're really good at. And of course, you need to know the basic skills kind of all of the areas of life and of taking care of yourself and your family. We've got to have those basic skills, but that doesn't mean that you have to like try to master all of them. You can be proficient in most areas and an expert in just a couple areas or one area, something that you really love, something that you are passionate about, something that brings you a lot of joy. I'm hesitant to even give you any ideas because I don't want you to like think inside of a box. It's your life. You get to choose what that is, what brings you joy, what makes you happy. We can get very caught up in watching someone else's, the beauty in their expertise and feeling like, but I wish I was really good like that, and diminishing our own areas of expertise and the things that we love. And it always makes me sad when I see women doing that, and for myself, even when I find myself feeling that way and doing that, I kind of have to like, hard stop it right now. That's great for her. As I always say, good for her, not for you. It's a mantra that I live by for a reason, because we live in a society where other people's lives are very much a part of our everyday life if you are on social media, bottom line. And when we are exposed to so much and so much variety, so many different ways of living, so many different ways of doing things, it can really make us start to question like, should I be doing that? Am I supposed to be doing that? Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. People do that. Knowledge is both a gift and a burden to bear, because now we know what's out there, we know what's possible, we know all the things that you could be doing. And most of them are things that we don't need to be doing, or completely outside of our wheelhouse, and like, no ma'am, we just need to walk away from that. What are you gonna do? You're gonna zone in on what you are really good at, what brings you joy, what makes you happy. You're gonna keep learning and growing in that skill. It's gonna build your confidence when you see yourself getting better at something. It may build your confidence to try out some other things, some other areas that you might wanna learn about. This is about finding those things that are special and important to you, leaning into those and embracing that thing that is yours, the thing that you love, and not worrying about what other people love and what other moms are doing and, what other areas they are experts in that you are not. As promised, I have 2 things that I think that you have to stop doing. I don't like to do negative things with like a negative bend, like please stop doing. I don't love that. Who am I to tell you stop doing something? But these are just my opinions, right? So we've got things we're embracing, things that things we're doing that are making us happier. And there's 2 things that I see that make me kind of crazy. And maybe it's not that you need me to tell you to stop. Maybe it's just that you want to hear somebody else like give you permission to not do these things. So this is me giving you permission. Not that you need mine, but sometimes people feel like they just need to hear it from somebody else. Number one, let's embrace the seasons we're in. Whether that is the actual season, as in like fall, winter, spring, summer, or season of little kids, high school kids, grown kids. I struggle so much with this because I am an influencer and a creator. And when this is your business, you are constantly having to think forward to like the next quarter, the next kind of content. What are you going to be doing? I mean, it's September right now, but yes, in my mind, I've already done and am doing Christmas related things. I try desperately to do is not to bring that into my like real life. I'm not telling you when you can start celebrating any holiday. Do what you want. But I do feel as though ever since social media came around, every holiday seems to be happening way, way, way sooner. Every season seems to be changing over like way before it actually does. And it's very disorienting, just to be honest. It can feel very disorienting, like, wait a second, still like 100 degrees outside and everybody is like completely decorating for fall and like, I don't know, just pumpkins everywhere and fall leaves and just all of this. Again, I'm not saying that you can't do that if it makes you happy, but I think if that were truly why people were doing it, then people would have been doing it a long time ago. Again, it's been since social media. Another example that I could just think of off the top of my head is that basically like 2 days after Christmas last year, I started seeing people talking about Valentine's. Understand that, again, influencers, depending on their genre and what they share about and do, you kind of have to like be ahead of things, I guess, but it's overwhelming for me, and this is my job. So I cannot imagine what it must feel like when it's not your job and people are just like, oh, you're still wearing your swimsuit and your hair's wet and you've got sand between your toes. Here's a pumpkin spice latte. It's fall. It just speaks to the fact that we as a society have a very hard time just living in the moment, living in the gain and not the gap, as we've talked about before. And we're just constantly thinking about like, what's next, what's next, what's next. It's a terrible way to go through life. If you expect to have any semblance of contentment, there's no contentment to be found in what's next, what's next, what's next. If you're hearing this and being like, oh, I'm so glad somebody finally said it, like, not that you need my permission, but I think that one of the things that we should stop doing is rushing in to the next thing, the next season, before we have really soaked up every last bit of happiness and joy and contentment that's to be found in the one we are currently in. The second thing is not knowing when enough is enough, not knowing when to stop, not knowing when to say, I have cleaned enough, I have cooked enough, I have run enough errands, I have organized enough, I have decluttered enough, I need to be enjoying my life. Love that we're talking more in, like culture about like homemaking. And I love that this topic and mothers and raising children is, even though it's like a little controversial right now, I love that it's becoming a bit of a more mainstream topic because it's been a forgotten skill and a forgotten trade for women, one that is often looked down upon. So I'm so glad that we are recognizing all of the strengths and all of the wonderful things that women can do and are capable of doing and raising kids. But it would be a terrible idea if we took the work like a CEO mentality and brought it into the home and turned homemaking into yet another thing that was just about striving and better and more and bigger, and we were unable to see what we have right in front of us and enjoy that. So don't get so busy making a to-do list and checking things off that you forget to live and love your family right where you are in your home. You get so busy with the to-do list that you forget to have a life.